Hello, everybody. Welcome to Big Blue Kickoff Live right here on Giants.com and the Giants mobile app, brought to you by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. John Schmeelk, Paul Dottino with you. The phone number is 201-939-4513. We are going to have Dave Hyde, who covers the Hurricanes for the Sun-Sentinel, joining us in just a little bit. He's a columnist for them. Talk about what happened at the Miami Pro Day and talk about some of the prospects out of Miami. He had to do the call at 12:15, which is why we popped on a little bit early here to squeeze it in, and we'll still take you to 1:30, so we'll get some bonus content today from us on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Mr. Dottino, how are you?
Good to talk to you again, John. It was a very interesting weekend in Giant Land, but of course things are continuing to swirl, and until we get some final decisions on this quarterback thing, we just don't know how it's all going to turn out.
Yes, and we could talk a little bit about that after we talk to Dave Hyde here. Did you watch any of the Miami Pro Day yesterday yourself?
I watched, and I thought Cam Ward had a very nice day. But as everyone tells us each and every year before these things start, they're supposed to look good. They're in their home environment with their home receivers. Cam Ward had said he would not throw at the combine because he wanted to show everybody throwing to the best receivers and the guys he knew the best of his arm. And I think mission accomplished.
I agree. He showed his arm angles. He showed his quick hands, his quick release, his ability to move and throw the football. He showed off a really good arm. He only had a couple of errant throws over the course of the day. I thought he was very sharp. I agree. Again, I think he met expectations, though. So I don't think he necessarily helped himself, but he certainly didn't hurt himself. And onward and upward, and I think I'd be very surprised at this point if he was not the first overall pick of the Tennessee Titans. And to join us to talk about Cam Ward and everything else that happened at the Miami Pro Day and the prospects in general is Dave Hyde from the Sun-Sentinel, joining us to talk about everything that happened yesterday down there in Miami. Dave, you got John Schmeelk and Paul Dottino up here at the Giants practice facility in East Rutherford. Hope you're doing well today, man. How are you?
I'm good. Long pro day at Miami. It took forever, about 4 hours worth. So a lot to talk about.
All right. So why don't we talk about Cam Ward first? Your take from what you saw from him, more importantly, what you've seen from him over the course of the entire year, and just what an NFL team will we getting if they decide to draft a Cam Ward?
Yeah. So he came in about this time last year to Miami. And first weekend, he's talking to the receivers and lining up workouts with them and everything. And one of the receivers says, I can't really make workouts with you because I'm working out with some NFL players. And Cam said, okay, well, you go to the NFL then, because I'm not going to be throwing you the ball if you're not working with me. And that set the tone right there of who the leader of that team was. And he came in and it was as good a year as a Miami player has had. And you go through the names of, the greats here. And so part of it's the position, obviously. Part of it's he didn't have the super talent around him. He had good talent around him, but not they're not loaded with first-round picks, as you can tell. But he was everything and more that Miami could have expected. So it's not really a surprise to me that he's being talked about for the first-round pick, because there really hasn't been a player through here in a long time like him.
Well, since the Combine, and John and I went out to Indianapolis, the momentum of him being the number one pick by Tennessee seems to have gained so much steam that a lot of folks seem to believe that it's inevitable. So I'm going to ask you this. If you had the number one pick in the draft, and let's forget about just the position for a minute, in terms of his talent, his ability, what holes he might have in his game, what would be the best argument you could make not to pick him at number one?
Well, not to pick him, there's somebody better. I mean, simple as that. Is there a Joe Burrow out there who checks everything? And no. And so is there if you're a team that has a quarterback and there's an equally graded, Abdul Carter or somebody, I don't know, someone out there your team really likes as much, that'd be the reason. But I think in this draft, with these teams' needs, who knows is Tennessee playing a game? I have absolutely no idea. But they had everybody there yesterday. Their GM, head coach, assistant GM, special assistant to the GM, quarterback coach. They brought in their social media team filming the whole thing, and so could it be a smokescreen? Of course. I mean, it's the NFL draft, but and I'm sure the Giants are sitting there wondering, just that. Is this a smokescreen or what? And then I don't know I don't know anybody's interest. All I know is I think when you say there's a lot of momentum for him, I think as always happens, the talk catches up to what the NFL people are really thinking. And I think that's what happened after the combine, and certainly by pro day, it'd be a surprise if he's not the number one pick.
Now, to make it clear, what I read is that there were 80 different NFL personnel people there representing every single team, all 32. So obviously every team was doing their due diligence, not just on him, but on all of the other Miami prospects as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there aren't Arroyo, the tight end. He didn't run the 40s. Evidently, he's got something nicked up, but he ran some routes, and he's probably the second, and he'll go somewhere in the second round to tell you, the level. This isn't the Miami of 2 decades ago, and the banners flying over the practice field as they worked out of 5 first-round picks. They have 5 first-round picks 4 years in a row. So this is the Cam Ward show, and they have good talent. They have Jalen Rivers, a guy who'll go in the 4th round, probably an offensive lineman. Braxton Berrios was sort of, he's a favorite of Miami fans because he's one of these tough guys who big gains, but he's a receiver and ran a 4.8, and so that. The question then becomes, okay, what happens? So, there's a handful of other players, but it was really the Cam Ward show yesterday.
All right, I think you had a Freudian strip. You said Braxton Berrios. You mean Xavier Restrepo, correct?
Restrepo.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Well, mixing up my names.
But by the way,
we were both puzzled.
No. You know why? Dave, it's funny because they're similar players. So I understand why you would kind of confuse them.
Yeah. I don't know where my mind's going. Braxton Berrios just signed with Houston for $2 million. So.
No, absolutely. But you know what? You brought up Restrepo, so I want to ask you about him. I think we all knew he wasn't going to be fast, right? Like, you watch him, but he knows how to get open. He has great hands. He's tough. He plays the position. I know Cam Ward loved throwing him the football. Do you think, when you watched him, how much was that lack of speed apparent when you watched him in games? And did it really, you think, hinder his effectiveness? Or do you think that's something he might be able to overcome?
That's the ultimate question there. In the pro, let's face it, in college, it's not as fast a game as a pro. So was he as good as he was in the college? And he was good. I mean, and there's no question about his work ethic and all that stuff. Him and Cam Ward would work out together at 5 a.m. in the morning during this period here. So they get up and work out together. So no question about his work ethic. The question becomes 4.8 in the NFL, even for a slot receiver. I'd have to go back and I'd have to look up the comparatives, what was, you go back to Troy Brown or Edelman with New England, and where is the cutoff in the NFL for speed? I don't know. I knew he wasn't a burner. I was thinking somewhere in the 4.6s though.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, same
but
here.
not. He ran 4.83 and 4.84, so it wasn't he didn't have one bad run.
We think the Giants might be in the market for an edge rusher at some point in this draft. If Tyler Barron, who was with Tennessee before he came to Miami for 1 year and was somewhat inconsistent during the course of this season, if he were to be there in, let's say, the 4th round, what kind of prospect do you think a team would be getting?
Boy, there's a name that I think you said the word inconsistent, and I haven't really heard a lot of talk about him. My knowledge of the Miami roster only goes so deep, and I haven't really heard anybody talking up him I I think the word was inconsistent. I think that's it. And the question be like with any team, who falls in love with it? Does someone fall in love with something about his game, or have some comparator to say, oh yeah, this player was like this, and I can get this out of him? The name people came out talking a little more about was Damian Martinez, the running back. 230 pounds. I think he ran a 4.6, 4.5. He ran a 4.5, and he had a really good first half of the year last year, and then he wasn't bad, but it wasn't as he kind of got over. Cam Ward took over as the number one talk, and everybody else kind of fell by the wayside. I'm just curious where he's going to go. Evidently, it's a good running back class. I was talking to a couple of scouts. Third, fourth round probably for him. So he was one of the guys that people were talking about after the workout yesterday.
I'm going to ask you about Elijah Arroyo. You mentioned him earlier. Should it be a red flag for teams that he really had not done anything until his final year there in Miami? Like, how bad were the injuries? Why wasn't he able to be effective really until this year?
Yeah, that's a great question. And part of it is, and you have to weigh this with Restrepo, with Arroyo. You got Cam Ward thrown to you now, and so if you're good, you're going to be valued in the passing game. And Arroyo really took off. And to me, it's a mystery why that talent wasn't seen before. And I don't know, because you see it, the size, you see speed. There's a physicality to his game. I asked Miami people that this year, where's he been? So I never really got a good answer, whether it was work habits, system, I don't know. But he was a force this year, and clearly, he's one of those guys you even if you didn't know who was playing, you'd watch the game and say, oh, who is that guy? And again, Miami doesn't have a ton of game-changing talent. I was surprised. I thought there'd be another lineman or something like that, but no. And so Arroyo will be the second Miami player drafted. It's interesting. Mason Taylor, the LSU tight end, who's Jason Taylor's son. Jason Taylor now being a defensive coach and Arroyo are the question. In the second round, probably who goes first.
Jalen Rivers played both guard and tackle. Love is 6'6", 320 size, and he's got really nice length. Traits are going to intrigue NFL scouts and coaches. From what you've seen, how do you like his performance both at guard and at tackle? I'm going to assume they might want to have him as a guard in the pros, but where did you see him fit best?
Yeah, I think you're right. The fact he's played both always, of course, is nice. In fact, I was talking to him yesterday, and he said at the combine, teams had him, talked to him about playing center, and he's played some of that here and there. But the point being, he's one of these guys who was versatile and could play other positions. But I think guard will be the place that he'll land, certainly at just start his career.
Final one for me, Dave, and again, really appreciate you doing this, man. This has been fantastic. Give me something on Cam Ward as a guy that maybe we don't know. We can watch him on tape. We've seen all the comebacks. We've seen him be calm in the pocket. We see the physical traits. But as someone that's watching him every game and is around him and talks to him, what is about Cam Ward, the dude, the guy, that would make you think he could turn out to be, one of these alpha number one type of quarterbacks in the National Football League?
Yeah, you talk to him and right. Again, I talked to him. I didn't talk to him until August here, so he'd been here a few months, and right away you tell he's leading this team. He's the guy. He's taken over, and scouts are saying Mario Cristobal is telling him he's the best leader he's ever seen. To me, and I was thinking this yesterday, I'm not sure there's a more unusual story for a guy being drafted number one overall, assuming he gets that. In that he wasn't offered a scholarship out of high school, and he ended up playing at or Assumption, I forget the name of the school.
Incarnate Word.
Incarnate Word, yeah, Incarnate Word.
Yeah, it's okay. You're allowed to forget that name.
Yeah, no, I always say Assumption Word, and I know that's not it. But the point being, it's a school that, unless you're from that area, you're going to mispronounce. So he started that because he was in basically a single wing offense in high school. They ran that, so he didn't get. So then he transfers with the offensive guy, transfers to East Washington from Incarnate Word. They went together, and he lit that up. And now he's on his third school here, and so he broke records at 3 different colleges at 3 different levels. Assuming Washington State, isn't at Miami's level, but maybe they are these days. But the point being, usually a number 1 draft pick, he's great right away. Now the question is, how great is he going to be a top? Is he going to be a first-round pick or whatever? We can debate that, but it isn't a question of is he going to get a college scholarship. So those are the, Kurt Warner has the best quarterback story in the NFL, probably undrafted and cut to winning the Super Bowl. And who knows where Cam Ward's career goes. But as far as being the number 1 pick, it's a really unusual story.
Dave, final question for me. You talked about Cam's travels. I'm curious because sometimes when a player is just so good, the coach will say, hey, man, you just do your thing and we'll work with what you have. So when he finally got to Miami as his 3rd collegiate program, did he fit in to Miami's offense, or did they just say, hey, you know what? We know the goods you're bringing to the table. We're just going to let you do what you do best and let it fly?
Well, they by the end of the season, it was his offense. At the start of the year, he's coming in. Their practice when they loved him in the spring. They're like, wow. They knew he was good. I remember talking to Dennis Erickson, the former UM coach who lives out west. And he was saying, this guy is special. You're getting, and he played at Washington State. Nobody really knew much about him as far as in the media. But then you started watching him practice how he throws, the angles he throws at, the creativity he has. Even when he'd make a bad pass, like he'd be running right and throw across the field left and they get intercepted. You'd ask him about that, and he'd say, "Yeah, I'm gonna." Most quarterbacks would come in and go, "Yeah, that's a stupid play." He comes in and I'm going to make plays like that, because I trust my talent, and that's what comes with it. He's very confident, not
we can tell
awful way either, but a very confident. He's for a guy who really had to bet on himself at the start of his career. And as he said, I was working when, someone asked him about all the cameras yesterday. He goes, I was putting in this work when there weren't any cameras there. So, so, he's going to be an interesting watch as far as where his NFL career goes.
Dave, this was great. I appreciate you squeezing us in today. I know you're busy. From the Sun-Sentinel, Dave Hyde. Dave, have a good one. Enjoy the rest of the process, and we'll talk to you soon.
Be well, Dave.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
That's Dave Hyde. Paul, your thoughts?
He has been covering Miami sports for a long time. He's got a track record of being with both of the big papers down there. So the perspective that he gave was very valuable because that's coming from a place of knowledge and experience.
Yeah, spoke very highly of Cam Ward.
Especially his leadership skills, his confidence, and his ability to be assertive.
And it's a quiet confidence in leadership. He might say things at times, but he's not like, he just doesn't walk around like this big, like, rah-rah, me, like, bling, like, just look at me type of guy, which I like. Because, he, like he said, he came out of high school without an offer. I mean, he had to earn his way up from Incarnate Word to Washington State and then to Miami. That kid had to work for everything he got, and I like that out of the quarterback position. That's a good thing.
John, I don't see any reason to waver from the fact that the Titans are going to pick him at number 1. I would absolutely be flabbergasted if they don't.
Which is really different than what was leaving the combine. I don't think either of us felt that way.
No, we didn't necessarily know the Titans were going to take him at 1, but it seemed obvious he was moving up to that number 1 spot for somebody.
He was going to get picked at 1, whether it was Tennessee or someone trading up. That's
what it looked like.
First. Yes, that's true, but I think
Now I'm to the point where I think Tennessee's taking it.
Look, we talked about this when we walked out of the combine, right? It was only a week until the negotiating part of free agency came.
Right.
They had him in that week. They had him in the building that week. So did other teams. But they had him in that week. So my guess is that he made quite the mark on them.
And, we understand how NFL teams will go to some lengths to create smoke screens. But when he said they had everybody down there, including all of their social media people, they obviously...
Now, in fairness, the Titans had their social media people at the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Game, too. So they've been doing a lot of this stuff throughout the process. Understandably so.
Understood. I'm not saying that that's a hint.
Right.
But it certainly is a curiosity that they would go to that extent to follow him. But they probably will do the same for Sanders and maybe even do the same for Hunter, and they may do the same for Carter when those guys have their pro days too. That's entirely possible.
Correct.
They know they're going to be picking high. Let's put it that way, because if they move out of one, John, they're not going to go far.
Yeah, and I have no problem with it, by the way. I think Cam Ward has enough talent in him where I see if everything clicks, and look, there's no guarantee it's going to happen. It's the NFL and it's the quarterback position.
Right.
It might not work. We all know that going in. We went through the numbers, right? Even the top row of our picks, you're looking at a 30% fail rate, 20% fail rate, whatever it was. So there are no short things in this world, but he has enough innate talent to me where I would feel absolutely fine picking him in the top 3, top 5. Last year, he would have been my number 4 quarterback right behind Jaden Daniels, who I had at 3rd. Probably should have had him higher given how the first year went. But he would be in that group for me. He would be ahead of J.J. McCarthy in terms of how I had those two guys graded out. Because I think Ward's just shown more than McCarthy did. And I think has more, oomph to him.
No disrespect to Will Levis, but he is the quarterback right now who's penciled in as the Tennessee starter. And
Brandon Allen's the only other guy they have. So,
correct.
Yes.
So let's just say that they do have a need.
Yes. All right, we're going to open up the phones here, 201-939-4513. Again, we had to start early today, folks. If you missed it, go back to the archive. The first 15, 17 minutes or so of the show is Dave Hyde from the Sun-Sentinel talking about the Miami Pro Day. So if you're joining us now, this is our normal start time. You did miss the interview, but again, just check it out on the archive. It's the first 15 minutes or so. Really good information from Dave. So real quickly on the other guys, I want to give you my take, because I have watched most of these guys
Yes.
From the Miami Pro Day. I think Elijah Arroyo is really awesome.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's good.
He's if he turned out to be a better player than Colston Loveland, would that shock me? It would not. And I like Colston Loveland. He's going to be a first-round pick, and he should be. But would it shock me if when they all said and done, Arroyo was the same level of player as Colston Loveland? It wouldn't. He's a really good receiver, and he's big. So he checks all the boxes for me.
What you see, John? And
go ahead, please.
About him, every single cut-up that I watched of him, he was constantly getting free.
He creates separation
Constantly.
really well. Correct.
And it's like, wait a minute, is he really that big? You go back and you look and you say, oh yeah, 6'5", 250. It's like,
and I told
really?
And I told this story.
And they can't. Nobody can plaster him.
When I showed up to the Senior Bowl, I had scouted him, I had watched him, but I hadn't looked at his measurements. I just watched the tape, and I'm like, and I figure, all right, he's one of these Evan Ingram, 238 pounds.
Yeah.
Wide receivers. Then he got measured at the Senior Bowl. I'm like, oh. And then no one could cover him at the Senior Bowl. And I'm like, oh. And then I talked to him at the Senior Bowl. You guys can go check that out. It's on one of the Senior Bowl interview things back on the Giants Huddle feed. And he's a big dude.
Yes.
So he's going to be a second-round pick, and he's going to be a good NFL tight end. Period. Stop.
How many safeties who are going to be giving up probably at least 25 to 30 pounds to him are, not only going to be able to deal with his elusiveness, but then going to be able to bring him down one-on-one.
Yeah, again, I don't know how much he's going to block. He's willing. He's big enough to do it, but he'll be an F-move tight end to start, much like Evan Ingram was, and you try to figure out a way to get him on the line a little bit. Xavier Restrepo, I think I've talked to you about him before, Paul. He's a fun watch. He's a good player. He's a tough, gritty, quicker than fast slot receiver. Look, and I think I said this to you. I might have said this on the huddle to somebody else. Some people have been making Ladd McConkey comparisons with him.
I don't think so.
No. And I've said this. That's not even close. And I knew he was not good. Like, Ladd McConkey ran a 4.39.
Yeah. That's...
All right? He's just way faster. And Ladd McConkey played outside at Georgia, too. Restrepo is if Bill Belichick was the coach of the Patriots, he would be a Bill Belichick slot receiver.
I
That's
agree.
what he would be.
I agree.
But, he mentioned Wes Welker and Danny Amendola and who's the other slot receiver, and Julian Edelman. Thank you.
Yes.
He's slower than all three of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen him mocked in round 2 and round 3 in some of these drafted guys. People are not drafting a 5'10" wide receiver that ran a 4.8 in the second or third round.
I don't think so.
It's not happening. So Tony and I talked about this in the draft season. We did a mock draft on draft season. That's going to drop later on today.
Right.
He's going to be around 5 or 6 pick, maybe 7, based on the time speed. Good football player, tough, great hands, good route runner. But again, 4'8" wide receiver. It's honestly, and I feel bad for him because he's a really good kid. Everything I've heard, he was fun to talk to at the Senior Bowl. I had a chance to chat with him briefly. But he shouldn't even run. If you think you're running a 4.8, dude, do not run. Don't run.
Yeah, you make a good point. His agent probably gave him some bad advice to let him do it.
Maybe in training he was running in the high 4.6s and he thought he could do that.
Yeah.
And if he got into the 4.6s, that's fine for him. But 4.8, it's not good.
Well, the problem is you do it at the pro day, which is where you're usually, if you're going to get any edge, it's going to be on your side.
True, but last year...
So when you go 4.8 your own pro day, it's not good.
It's funny you say that, but at the Combine in 24...
Right.
It was brand new turf and it was fast turf. People actually ran faster at the Combine than they did at the pro days last year. Now, that wasn't the case this year because they put a different type of turf down.
Right.
At the... It's not the RCA Dome now. What is it now? The
Lucas
Oil Stadium.
Lucas
Thank
Oil.
you.
Yeah.
So that's him. Damian Martinez, I think he's going to be a round 3 or 4 guy. He's 240 pounds. He ran in the low 4.5s, which is a good. Again, all these numbers are unofficial too, by the way. So we don't know exactly what the timings are.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't trust the stuff that the agents put out because it's always going to be too fast. But he's a good, solid back that's fast and tough, faster than you think, big, tough, breaks tackles. He's a Paul Dottino type of running back.
He is. He shows a lot of grit and a lot of physicality, not afraid to get his nose dirty and stick it up in there. So, yes, I agree. He would definitely be one of my kind of guys.
Yeah, Sam Brown is another guy. He didn't work out and do the 40 there, but he did it. He was a 4.4 guy and ran really good jump numbers at the Combine. Little raw. He was at the Shrine Bowl. He's going to be a day 3 pick. But he has some upside if you want like a vertical, deep threat wide receiver. He's a guy you can look at. He's got some size, too. He's 6'2".
Yeah, this is one of those programs which has such a great and glorious history that all of a sudden when we see a bunch of guys now who are prospects, we're going to tend to say, oh, he's from Miami, and we're going to elevate them in our minds a little bit.
Yeah, Brown was a transfer, too. He was in Miami the whole time.
And neither was
Martinez,
Martinez or Rivers. You know, not Rivers, Barron. I mentioned Barron during the interview. He was at Tennessee for 4 years.
Right.
You know, so he was not a Miami lifer. But so the pedigree is not quite the same as it was years ago, as he described. Dave was talking about, you know, this is not those Miami Hurricanes. But these guys are still, they're going to be make-it players. They've got 53-man roster grades on them.
And Jalen Rivers, you're right, Paul. He's a bigger bodied guy, and I'm not sure he has the foot speed to play tackle.
I don't think so.
But I think he's too big to play center. But 6'6" center?
I don't understand how
I think
people
guard.
asked him about center.
I think guard.
But John, he is long.
No, he's
got length.
And he was solid at the Senior Bowl.
You know?
No, like if he develops into like a below average type of starter in the NFL at some point, that wouldn't shock me.
It could happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Now,
absolutely.
At 6'6", you usually like your guards to be a little bit shorter for leverage purposes, but he looks like he actually can carry the frame well.
And he's a large fellow.
He's
a big man.
He is.
All right, I think that's all the Miami guys to talk about. Again, go check out our coverage on draft season. Tony Paulie and I, that one's dropping later on today.
I do want to just throw out one other note about Tyler Barron.
Sure.
The reason that I mentioned him, and I know he was very inconsistent this year, and depending upon, there are times he's not there. And then there are other times where he's making plays. He's very hit and miss. But the measurement that I saw for him was 6'5", 260. He can play up. He can play down. He ran a 4.6 and a 40. That's a guy that traits are going to get some people excited about and say, I can get something out of him.
And a defensive end is a trait position too, so people will try to buy into that.
So that's why I mentioned him, and that's why I thought maybe he could go as high as the 4th, because there's going to be someone excited about him and say, look, his best tape is what I can get out of him. And that's what I thought.
So like I said, folks, draft season, Giants.com, Giants app, search for it on your favorite podcast platform. Also, Giants Huddle podcast. Eric Edholm from NFL.com just put up his top 100. He's on with us. That dropped yesterday. So go check that out in the Giants Huddle podcast feed. A really good conversation going up and down the draft and talking about some names we haven't talked about, at least on these shows yet, that you guys would be interested in. Later on in the week, I already interviewed Chad Ryder. He had a 4-round mock draft come up on NFL.com, so that's going to drop, I think, Thursday. And I'm working on Cam Wolf this week, who was down at the Miami Pro Day.
Yeah,
he did a podcast with Javon Holland, and he covers the league in general as an insider. So 3 interesting things to talk about Cam Wolf with. So we've not set that one up yet. I'm waiting to hear back from his folks, and hopefully we can get that set up for Friday this week. And
his parents will let him talk to you.
I'm not talking to his parents about the interview, Paul.
I know.
All right.
I'm just having fun.
Real quick, B-Town Wilson, Coach Marv, we're going to get to you in just 1 second. I gave my spiel on Jameis yesterday. Again, I think given what the contract was, this is a preemptive break glass in case of emergency type of move. If nothing else works out, you have a guy you trust you can go in there that knows how to play in the National Football League. Paul, your quick thoughts here.
Yeah, very simple. Same thing when we talked very quickly after the news came out the other day. First thing I said, John, he's signed as a backup. That's it. This is not the solution. This is not the potential week 1 starter.
And it's a good value signing as a backup.
Well, he's getting less money than Drew Lock got.
Again, based on what the reports are, the Giants don't confirm that much.
Correct.
Right.
Let's make that clear. But if it's accurate, he's getting less money than Drew Lock, and we know Drew Lock was signed as an emergency, as a backup guy. So that's the category. He's a Tier 3 quarterback. He comes off of that shelf. And that's why I know there was some people who got real wow when it happened. And I don't know if they quite understood what we were talking about here, but that's what he is.
Now, here's the beauty of it, though. Look, if the Rodgers-Wilson thing doesn't work out, it's good you have him in the building. And it could be that another team was going to gobble him up, and the Giants no, we better get him in here just in case. Because you don't know what's going to happen, who's going to be there at 3. Sanders and Cam Ward could both be gone at 3 for all we know. So who knows what the draft's going to look like. So they had no one in the room except for Tommy DeVito. You had to get somebody in here just in case this other stuff didn't work out.
And somebody who has NFL experience and at least has won games in this league before. So I understood it. And, And
I think what makes the difference for you is at that number, you're okay with it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Because that tells you what they plan for him.
Right.
How many times did we say, I know I screamed it for a month and a half, that the free agent move the Giants make at QB is going to tell you a lot about what they're doing for the season and what their plans are in the draft. At that number, the board is still wide open.
Wide open.
The Giants haven't decided anything.
And they could still spend a significant amount of money on another veteran quarterback if they decide to.
They could spend big money on a veteran, which I still think they will bring in. I still think Russell Wilson's going to wind up being here. I still believe that. Now, that may not be the case, but I'm still banking on that. And this also, if they have Wilson and they have Winston and they have DeVito, I do think that will impact some of what they view in terms of the quarterback draft and how high they want to go. I really do.
I don't.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. It may not. I also think Cam Ward going number 1 to Tennessee is going to have a big impact on how they feel about this quarterback class.
I agree with that, too. That's fair. All right, let's go to B-Town in Atlanta. He will lead us off today on Big Blue Kickoff Live. What's up, B-Town?
Hey, what's up, John and Paul?
Hi.
I had wanted to know if you guys listen to this, if you were a GM, listen to this draft day trade.
Sure.
If Cam Ward was gone and Shador was gone, would you trade to the Titans Kayvon Thibodeau for Will Levis? He's still a young guy. If you're a teacher, you should be able to teach this guy something. He had some injuries early in his career. Not the best, stats from, last year, but he really hasn't had a wide receiver core like the Giants will be able to put in front of him.
So I would assume then B-Town, after you make that trade, you would then draft Abdul Carter would be the second part of that plan?
Yeah, and draft Abdul Carter. And then these is my positions I would like to draft. Next couple of positions will be defensive tackle after Abdul Carter, offensive guard, and I like a wide receiver. I just want to know what you're thinking is about that. I'll take it off of here.
No, B-Town, real quick. Do you also would want to bring in like a Russell Wilson in addition to the Levis move, or would it just be Levis, Jameis, DeVito, and then you're done?
It'll be Levis. It'll be Jameis, and Tommy could be there. So, and then you just punt to next year, and where you think that the quarterback class is going to be actually better. I mean, and and later on in the draft, you want to throw a pick out there for a quarterback that can compete with Tommy DeVito, because I don't think he's really had any competition per se for his third string position. And then if he doesn't work out, just throw him to the practice squad.
All right, B-Town. Appreciate the call, dude. That to me is a little bit light at the position. I would want to throw more resources at the quarterback position than that, myself personally.
I'll give you two answers. I'll give you one answer. I'm all in on pushing the rookie quarterback till next year. You guys know that. That's just me.
What if you don't get Russell Wilson?
Now I got an issue.
That's why I asked you the question.
Now I got a big issue. I'm probably beating down the doors in Atlanta, to be frank with you.
What if you can't get a veteran?
Like I said.
No, what if you can't get a veteran? You have to have all your contingencies.
No, I
prepared.
know. I know. Look, I've told you before, I'm okay with going up into the bottom of the first round to get Dart.
Okay.
I've told you that before. Mm-hmm. I am okay with that. But I would have no problem putting off the franchise quarterback search until next year's first round.
I would be very weary, though. We don't know what next year's first round is going to look like either. It might not be a good class either.
But that part of the caller's response, I can live with that. I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is Levis, Winston, DeVito as this year's quarterback room.
And I think
that's not okay in any way, shape, or form.
And I think Thibodeau's an overpay for his theoretical trade of Thibodeau for Levis. That's an overpay.
Yeah, I would not even consider that trade, nor do I want that threesome as my quarterback room opening day in September. That's the kind of quarterback room that's going to wind up getting the house cleaned out. You won't even be worried about next year. That's what you got.
Levis and Winston are two of the more turnover-prone quarterbacks in the league.
So I'm meeting you halfway, okay? I'm meeting you halfway. If you want to wait till next year for the franchise QB, I'm okay, but I'm not okay with Will Levis as my starter.
All right, let's go back to the phones and say hi to Wilson in Roxbury. He's up next. Hey, Wilson.
Hey, Johnny, Paulie, how are you?
What's up, buddy?
Hi.
Well, listen, I'm not going to talk about the season or anything else anymore because the Giants are Cartoon Network, and that's it. The only thing I look forward to is before I get to what Paulie said to me last week. The only thing I'm looking forward to is how many games before planes start over and over MetLife Stadium.
Wilson, you don't even know who the starting quarterback week 1 is going to be yet.
Johnny, okay. Let me ask.
Unless the Wilson they sign is you, then it's a big problem.
Russell Wilson is not coming here, Paulie. The Russell Wilson is not coming here because Jameis Winston is here. He's not coming here. Right? Because
no, Wilson, why?
They're not on the same tier and have nothing to do with each other.
That is not a competition.
It's not.
Can I ask you guys something?
Yeah.
Can I ask them something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Last week, right? And I want to ask something real quick. Paulie, last week, right? You said to me, Wilson, your argument's got a lot of flaws because if, you have a lot of ifs. You told me that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember?
Every argument that has a bunch of ifs is basically like Swiss cheese.
Right. Okay. Let me ask something. But you said to me, well, and I said to you, okay, Paulie, but tell me something different. And you said to me, well, Joe Shane to you is still a good general manager, right? And I said, why, Paulie? And you told me, well, he tried last year to go to number 3. He tried to get Matthew Stafford. He tried to sign Saquon Barkley. Supposedly, he tried to get Cesar Jolari.
No, Wilson, remember, his point wasn't that Joe Shane is a good GM because he tried to do those things. His point was that you argue that he wasn't doing anything at the quarterback position. And Paul said, no, he was trying to do something at the quarterback position.
I'll give you that, Johnny. Johnny, you're a boss, right? And you have an employee, right?
Of course.
Your employee is the best trier in the company. He tried. Listen, I got to give him. He tried stuff. But eventually, Johnny, trying is not good enough.
No, but Wilson, it's out of Joe Shane's control. It's not like...
Okay, fine. But doesn't that give you some kind of pause, Johnny? That's something that nobody wants to deal with, this guy. Nobody wants to play for Brian. Let me ask you something, Johnny. Johnny, let me ask something. supposedly, right, the brightest spot on the Giants' horrendous season that they won 3 games, right, was the running back. Am I correct?
Yeah, Tyron J.C. Jr. was very good.
Okay, fine. One of the main guys that helped develop this running back was the running back coach, right? He had something to do with it, right?
Sure, yeah.
The
Joe
guy
Thomas,
was
he
here
did a
for
nice
1
job.
year. He couldn't wait to get out of here. Doesn't that tell you something? Doesn't that tell you something that nobody
What
wants
does
to come
that
here?
have to do with Joe Shane's acquisitions?
Yeah, I mean, so Wilson, you think that Joel Thomas doesn't like Joe Shane, so he went back to coach for the Saints?
Well, Johnny, listen to me. When you know what? I know you guys don't want to hear when stuff comes out, right? When stuff comes out, right, that this guy went crazy on the cornerback that ended up in San Francisco because he didn't want to take a pay cut, and he said F this and F that and F this, and we're gonna cut him this. When that stuff comes up publicly, so don't you think that other players and other GMs and other agents see how this guy operates? It's a trend that they lose every good player.
Wilson, hold on.
First, Wilson, thank you for the call. It's just not true. They don't lose every good player. They just had 3. The guy at the top of the safety market and one of the top 3 or 4 cornerbacks come here this offseason.
And Dexter Lawrence, who is probably the best player on this roster, re-signed a huge deal last year.
And so did Andrew Thomas.
Exactly. And by the way, Darius Slayton, who's gone through a lot of losing seasons here, still decided to re-up.
That's correct.
So where is the problem? And by the way, the running backs coach doesn't have a working relationship with the general manager.
Correct.
So please don't tell us that Joel Thomas decided to go back to New Orleans because he had a problem with Joe Shane. Please don't try to sell that, because that's not going to fly.
The reason he wanted to go back to New Orleans is because he lived there from 2015 to 2023, and that's where his family is.
Exactly. And he
was
had an
going
opportunity
back
to go home.
Correct.
Don't ever begrudge somebody who wants to go back home.
That's his home.
Don't ever begrudge anybody, player or coach, who decides that they want to be back where their roots are.
And by the way, the Giants could have been jerks and said, "You're not going."
They could have stopped him.
It was a lateral move.
Correct. They could have stopped him.
So if all these guys are such bad guys and they're such jerks, they wouldn't have let him go.
Wow.
Wilson, he's had too much time to stew with not a lot of news here.
Yeah.
Too much thinking going on in the
He
Roxbury
badly
household.
needs to get to the season. He
Yes,
really does.
or at least a draft.
When he talked to me,
No,
he was very
no.
positive.
Was he? What did he
Loves
say to
the
you?
Jameis signing.
What, but then how do you get onto this other stuff?
I don't know.
You put him in a bad mood. You must have said something.
Well, Pearson probably said that he tries very hard as someone that works with me, and Pearson and Wilson's like, work hard.
No.
It's not good enough. You have to succeed.
Effort means nothing to
No,
Wilson.
effort means nothing.
I do try hard.
All right, let's go to Mac in Maryland. He's up next. Hey, Mac, how are you?
Hey guys, how are you guys?
We're good, man.
I just had a quick question. I wanted to hear your thoughts about the Giants potentially carrying 4 quarterbacks. I mean, you guys are saying that the signing of Jameis is not, the end, which, I mean, an argument can be made. Yes, you're absolutely right. But another argument can be made. How realistic is they sign Jameis, and then whether it's Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, they bring that quarterback in, and then although they may not address the quarterback position in the first round, they still want to address it at some point during this draft. So now you're essentially looking at carrying 4 quarterback spots, and I wanted to know your thoughts about how realistic is that.
Good
and
question.
also, there was another comment about how they may punt this year. I think the first caller made the suggested trade of getting Will Levis and punting this year on another quarterback. And Paulie said that he's on board with, if that's the case, we punt him next year. My comment/question is, how realistic can we think that this regime?
Well, Mac, I want to be clear. Paul meant punt on the rookie quarterback. He wants Russell Wilson here to try to win this year and then not
Correct.
draft the rookie quarterback till next year.
Correct.
So Paul didn't mean punt on the season from a winning perspective.
The idea is that Russell
I know
Wilson
Paulie's not
starts and
punting
gets this
anything.
team
I
to
got
sniff
that. We're all
500.
about
That's the
winning this
idea.
year.
Right. No, Mac, look,
got
and Mac, and appreciate the call. Good stuff, man. You can listen off the air. Excellent questions. Thank you. I got this tweet from somebody yesterday too. They go, some people think that the Giants are just, gonna, punt the year and, just go next year. I'm like, guys, nobody's punting seasons.
Absolutely not.
That's not how the NFL works.
Joe Shane made that clear at the Combine when he said we want a veteran and a young guy at quarterback because I want to win as many games as I can.
Same thing with John Mara, the owner.
Absolutely.
No one's punting seasons.
Yeah, I'm glad you clarified that for me, John, because I certainly did it come off that way?
No, it did not.
I didn't think so.
No, but the way you answered it in a way to somebody that was suggesting it, but I just wanted to make sure he understand what you meant.
For sure.
But no one's punting any seasons. Folks.
Absolutely
They're
not.
trying to win games this year, as many as they possibly can. Not sacrificing the future on the way to do that. Don't jeopardize the long-term health of the franchise, but no, they're going to, within a reasonable, frame of reference, they're going to try to win as many games as they can this year without hurting the future.
Now, to his other question, there's no doubt the Giants at some point over the next several months will have 4 quarterbacks on the roster, if nothing else, to work out and to throw passes during camp, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? My thinking is if they get to sign the veteran, or for that matter, trade for a veteran, whatever it turns out to be, you got the veteran, you got Jameis Winston as your 2, and your 3rd, if you wind up taking one in the draft, John, no matter what round it is. I'm not even going to pick a round. But if you take one in the draft, what you're telling that guy is you're here to beat out Tommy DeVito to be the number 3. You're not keeping 4 on your 53-man roster.
No, I mean, DeVito could be a practice squad guy.
DeVito becomes either practice squad if he sneaks through,
he might.
Or he winds up getting claimed and goes somewhere else. So to me, if you do sign a veteran starter and then draft one, Tommy DeVito kind of winds up on a tightrope because you just don't know what his future is going to be.
And his presence is not going to stop the Giants from signing a veteran or drafting a quarterback.
It will not. I totally agree.
And they like Tommy. He's a good dude. I hope he's here, but...
And I know Brian Daboll really likes him a lot.
You have to do what you got to do at the quarterback.
You have to do what you have to do. And his ceiling is not so high that it can force you into making a different decision.
Coach Marvin in Delaware. He's up next. Hey, Coach.
Hey, you guys doing?
We're good, Coach.
How you guys doing? That's good. That's good. As I used to say, I said to you guys plenty of time, these guys are in a position they can't win because everybody got an opinion on what's going to happen.
But, Coach, that's the fun part of it. Everyone should call in with their opinion, and that's great.
By the way, the Bears just signed Nick McLeod, according to NFL Network. How about that?
Speak of the devil.
Good for him.
I agree with that. Everybody do have an opinion, but some of these opinions are said in anger. They're not said in this is what I suggest. Maybe, hopefully, they do this.
Welcome to America 2025, Coach Marvin. Everyone's angry about something.
It's all over the place.
Yeah, but if you listen to Wilson, his opinion is more in anger, and there's some stories that I can talk to about at the end, but I'm not going to get in details about it. But it was something I heard yesterday by Logan Ryan with Bob Popper on NFL radio yesterday, and it was a little disturbing. I can understand it. But it was disturbing what happened to him when he was with the Giants, and it was with the front office.
Yeah, I mean, Logan Ryan had to deal with the injury when he left, and he ended up having an appeal and an injury settlement and a grievance and all that stuff. Right. So, whatever happened with him at the end, it is what it is. So, obviously, he's not going to, be thrilled with how that whole thing went down.
Right. It was just a disturbing story. It's all business on both sides, but it was a little disturbing. But the quarterback, I got a little bit of taste of John, and I got a little taste of Paul.
Okay.
Y'all all mixed in together. I love that story. Both of you can just combine your stories together. I think we may have something. With the 2 quarterbacks, and I agree with you, it looks like Ward is going first. It looks like that's what's going to happen because the ball was snapping out of his hands yesterday, and looked really good. And
coming out easy too, Coach. Like easy velocity. He wasn't even straining, and the ball was popping out of his hand.
No, he threw it well.
Exactly. It looked like he was throwing flat-footed on some of those throws, and it was like Jesus Christ. This is the way I feel, and it's a little bit of John in the beginning. I'm looking at Mr. Mara. Bless his heart. He wants to win, and he's gonna say his opinion like we do on the show. And he says, I want a quarterback. And sometimes when the boss is talking, and he ain't really making you do something. He's just suggesting it. But sometimes these guys are going to feel the pressure, and that goes with Paul was talking. In Paul's situation, I probably would do the same thing if I knew my boss wasn't putting his thumb on the scale a little bit. So my thinking is, I look at the two quarterbacks that's up front. I get the feeling they do like Shador. I don't know if they're going to draft him, but I think they like him. I heard a caller Friday was saying, "Oh, I don't like it, and I don't want his dad." That's personal. This can't be personal. You know, don't tell me you don't want to draft him because of Deion. Deion is a better man than people think he is. So if they both of them go in the first two picks, I'm probably going to stay where I am and going to take one of the two top guys. And then, like Paul said, now what I'm going to do is try to look at my defense and see if I can build that up and if I can build the offensive line with the draft. But everybody talking about Trey Sharp.
Tyler Shuck.
From Louisville.
Tyler Sharp. Okay. I saw him. I looked at a little bit of him about 3 weeks ago, and I do like what I see. But I will sit at 3. I don't want to. I will sit and see what's coming up. Right now, I think everybody's on the Shook. Everybody wants him now. A lot of people are looking at him. So I move around a little bit, and I think of Will Howard. Maybe he can be the one that's similar to him and play that role where I get a quarterback, and I'm also going to get another veteran in there with them. So I'm going to have Winston, another veteran, one of the two, either is Roger or Wilson, and those two are going to help me with my rookie. If it's Howard, that's who they're going to help me with, and if it's Shador, that's who they're going to help me with. And I think we need to build that room up and see what happens. You can't count on next year. We'll worry about next year. Why are we worrying about the draft picks next year when we don't know who's who? We don't know who's going to be healthy next year. So just play it. They have to have a good contingency plan and follow that contingency plan. Every time something goes bad, you know how to correct it right away. So I think that's what they're going to have to do, and hopefully we can get out of this funk because we are definitely in quarterback hell. So I'll talk to you guys next time.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate the call.
Always good to hear from Coach Marvin. You know, John, 4 picks in the top 99.
You can screw one more person.
You know,
well, just say 5 in the top 104.
Or 5, yeah, 5. And look, I'd be okay if one of those picks went to a quarterback, but I'm going to tell you right now, they need some immediate production out of the other 4. If they take one of them and make him a redshirt quarterback.
Immediate production out of 99 and 104 is going to be tough. It's hard.
It's hard, but when I say immediate production, I'm talking even if the guy's a rotation player, he can give you immediate production. He doesn't have to be a starter. But if he's going to play, you know, I don't know, third of the plays, 25% of the plays.
Week 1?
Can he? Not necessarily week 1,
okay,
but by the time the season is over,
okay,
if that guy plays 25, 30% of the plays, I'd like to think he can make some plays.
I was just setting the benchmark for you, what you were talking about. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not going crazy here, but they need to really hit in that first 5 picks. They need to hit, and even if they take one redshirt quarterback, those other 4 have to be players.
They do. And look, this is a very good day 2 draft class. That to me is,
exactly.
That's where you're going to make your money in this draft class. So find good players on day 2. And they might not be stars. They might not be even Pro Bowlers. But they might not be great starters, but they're going to be good, solid NFL football players. And the Giants need as many of those guys as they possibly can, given how the last couple of years have gone. So,
you know, the guys like, I know Theo Johnson got hurt, but guys of that nature, guys like Tyrone Tracy, guys of that nature, you've got to get some production out of the day 2, early day 3 picks.
Let's go to Charlie in Portland, Maine. Hi, Charlie.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Hi, Charlie.
Hi, Charlie. You must be excited. You got your guy.
There you go.
Hey, look.
Oh, don't be crabby on us now. Come on. Be joyful.
Look, this is what I got to say.
That's not going to go
No,
well.
it's not. No. He's upset. He's upset.
People in the building look at this team and think the cupboard isn't bare, right? That's what Shane said. People on the outside looking in say we're power ranking, I know it's early, we're 31st in the league. We always overvalue our roster.
Always?
We are not in position to win 10 games or 8 games or 7 games or 6 games. I don't care if you bring in Wilson. I don't care if you bring in Rodgers. We are not that team.
Charlie,
yet.
they could have easily won 6 games last year if a couple of field goals go the other way at the end of games.
And if the kicker doesn't get hurt.
Is our schedule harder this year than last year?
Sure it is.
Of course. So we'll be lucky if we win 3 games. Look,
Charlie, we were saying, Charlie, just time out. Hold on 1 second. Just remember, Charlie, we were saying the same thing before the 2022 season, and look how that went.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for God's sake. You know why? Because we had the easiest schedule in the NFL in 2022. That's why. Nobody remembers that. Nobody took that into consideration.
Yeah, but Charlie, come on.
Charlie, you didn't say before the 2022 season that they were going to be good. Don't give me that nonsense.
You did not say that.
Of course I didn't.
No.
And they weren't good.
All right, now, but here's the other problem. Of course, while we know it's a daunting schedule as we look at it today, we also know, and you've been watching the game long enough to know, Charlie, that it's when you play certain teams, how healthy they are at the time you play them. Come on, you and I both know that. So it looks daunting, but it looks daunting. I agree, it looks daunting. But as they go through this schedule this year, maybe they catch a bunch of breaks, and a bunch of these teams don't turn out to be as good as you think they're going to be.
Yeah, and the Giants might not be as good as you think they're going to be.
They might not be.
They could happen too.
Of course.
Absolutely. None of us know until it actually happens.
Charlie, I don't know if you listened to the show. None of us have sat here and said they're making the playoffs next year or anything like that. Which one of us have said this? Who are you talking about?
Why do you guys want Russell Wilson here then?
Because you don't want to win 2 games again.
You know, it's one thing, Charlie. Let me
going to pay him all that money.
Charlie, being respectable and winning 7 games means a lot to people in the building, rather than winning 2 and being a laughing stock.
That
does matter to people.
Wouldn't you rather watch a team that's competitive and that you at least think they have a realistic chance to win every Sunday, as opposed to one where you say
with Wilson? Look, what I want.
You don't think Russell Wilson gives you a better chance to win than the room they have now?
Franchise quarterback. And that's what we should be doing.
Yes, and I think they're going to try to do that.
Be there at 3, and that's who we're going to get.
And that's fine.
And they should let him play. And they should have Wilson. Winston is the backup.
All right, so Charlie, hold on. So what happens? Charlie, what happens if you? Charlie, what happens if you pass on Russell Wilson and Shedeur Sanders has gone to 2?
He won't be gone.
What if? You have to prepare for every contingency.
You're picking 3rd.
Or you get Ewok from Texas. Or you get Melrose. Or you get whoever is the next man up.
So Charlie's plan is whoever.
We're not
whoever.
Win this season. Don't you understand?
Wait a minute.
We
Charlie,
are not very good.
If the Giants wait, no.
Charlie, here's the problem. You and the fans like you are willing to go into a season and not have any hope, give up, and accept being terrible. The person that owns this football team, shut up for a second. Let me talk. The person that owns this team is not willing. All right.
Only hope
Let me talk, Charlie. Are you done?
I'm done.
The owner of this team is not going to go into a season telling his fans that just sat through a 1-8 home schedule that they're going to show up to games and be miserable, leave at halftime, and be embarrassed for 8 games. The owner of this team is not going to let that happen. He doesn't want that to happen. The GM doesn't want that to happen. The coach doesn't want that to happen. The 70,000 people that attend the games every Sunday don't want that to happen.
No.
There's a small vocal minority of fans that are hoping you somehow get the first overall pick next year, and Arch Manning comes out, and all the stars align, and somehow you get the player you want. When the chances of that actually happening are extremely small, because that's not how the NFL and the world works. Weird things happen. Unexpected things happen. Arch Manning might not even come out next year for all we know.
I'm not talking about Arch Manning. You are. What
That's
I'm
what
talking about is
Charlie on
Wilson
Twitter. That's
is
what all
not gonna
Giant fans
move
talk
the
about.
Needle, and we're going to pay him a lot of money.
Charlie, move
for
the needle
nothing.
for you. You don't think there's a significant difference between Russell Wilson, who's your starting quarterback, and Jameis Winston?
No, I don't.
Wow.
No,
Well,
I
you're
don't.
wrong. Well, yeah, then you're wrong.
2 more wins.
Wow.
2 more wins. So we're going to have 5 wins instead of 3, and you guys are celebrating. Give me a break. It's stupid.
Charlie, it's not about celebrating over the record. It's about having legitimate hope going into every week's game, saying there's a chance we can win the game. There's a chance that we're going to be really competitive and maybe we steal the game. You want to at least know that you're going in with enough of bullets in your chamber that you can put on a respectable product. Right now,
Okay,
the
Paul,
quarterback
how
room
many
as
wins
it
are we gonna win in our
stands
division,
cannot
Paul,
do
with
that.
Wilson?
It
We're
cannot
not
do
saying
that.
win the division, Charlie. We never said win
No,
the
I
division.
said how many games are we going to win in our division with Wilson?
With Russell Wilson,
You would hope for 2 or 3.
exactly.
You would hope.
I'm with you on
Wow,
that.
That's going to move the needle. 2 wins. That's what I'm
What?
talking
Oh,
about.
Charlie,
in the division.
The
30,
team
$35
won
million
3
for
games
strike.
all of last season.
Even 5
If they win
wins.
3 games in the division this season, yeah, that's going to move the needle because they're not going to lose every other game outside the division.
Charlie,
so yes,
let me put
it
this
will
way.
help.
Pretty
Charlie,
close.
hold on one second. Do you think there's much of a difference between the talent on the Browns and the talent on the Steelers last year?
The Browns had a great defense. They just didn't have a quarterback.
Exactly. They did not have a quarterback. Charlie, who was their starting quarterback for 7 games that they then yanked because he wasn't good enough to start for them?
I don't remember. Was it,
Jameis Winston!
Holy smokes, Charlie.
Oh my God! I know I can't. I can't. Let him go. I can't.
Now,
I don't remember.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Charlie comes with a lot of vigor.
I'm sorry for blowing your
He
ears,
just
Pearson.
he just doesn't
Jeez.
come at us with a lot of facts.
Oh, Charlie, this is where I was going with that question. I thought you were going to know that. That wasn't me trying to catch you in something.
Well, he claims
by the
to
way.
be a winsome fan.
Jameis Winston went 2-5 with the Browns last year, in a team that you just said you thought was more talented than the Steelers.
Right.
2-5. All right, and they pulled him as the starting quarterback. Okay. Russell Wilson went 6-5 with the Steeler team that, by your own opinion here, was not as good as the Cleveland Browns. He held off Justin Fields and held the job to the end of the year. Now, did the Steelers make the playoffs? Did they challenge the Ravens? Did they challenge the Chiefs? Did they challenge the Bills? No.
But they made
That's
the playoffs.
okay. That's okay. They were a team that was in games in every game at the end of the year. They played around 500 football when he was the starting quarterback. Now, are the Giants where the Steelers are they that good of a team? Not yet. They're getting there. You hope you're better this year with all the talent that you had, and maybe you're at that level this year. We'll have to find out, okay? We're not promising over 500. We're not promising playoffs. We're not saying any of this is going to happen. You want to bring in the best quarterback you can to try to win football games. That's what you're trying to do. If you're promising me right now that you're going to walk away with Cam Ward in the draft, would I go sign Russell Wilson? No. I would just play Cam Ward. Guess what? On March 25th, I don't know what quarterback you're getting in the draft. That's the problem. You say, of course Shedeur Sanders is going to be there. How do you know the Browns are not going to pick him at 2? How do you know some other team's not going to trade up to 2 to pick him ahead of the Giants?
That could happen too.
I have no idea. I'm not telling you I know what's going to happen. The point is that no one knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows. Okay? Now, if you draft Shedeur at 3, do you want him to play this year? Absolutely. You get the quarterback 3rd overall. Do you want him to get in some games? Does that have to be right away? No. Do you want him to play at some point? Sure. And then maybe do you have overkill if you also pay Russell Wilson? Sure. Maybe that's the case. That could very well be the case. Okay? But you have to prepare yourself for every opportunity. And if you bring in Russell Wilson, are you going to go win a Super Bowl this year? Odds are you're not. But you're going to be a much more competitive and better football team week to week with the guy that protects the football as well as anyone in the league. I looked it up. Remember, he had the 2nd lowest interception rate in the league last year.
Mm-hmm.
He's won a lot of games in this league. Is he the player he was 7 years ago when he was going to Super Bowls with the Seahawks? No, he's not the same guy. He's over 35 years old. That's understandable. No one expects him to be. If he was the same guy, he'd be making $55 million a year.
He can still win games, though.
And he's going to give you a chance to win every game that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to you, Charlie, as an individual, does it not matter to you if you win 7 games or 3 games? Maybe it doesn't matter to you. That's fine. It matters to people in the building.
It sure does.
From ownership down. Okay? Certainly matters to Paul and I, who have to sit here and talk about this team in a week of games every week.
Mm-hmm.
And do we want to sit here the week of the Chiefs game? Would you rather be a 4-point underdog to the Chiefs, or a 6-point underdog to the Chiefs, or a 13-point underdog to the Chiefs? Because that's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And Wilson raises the floor of your play much higher than a Jameis Winston. And that's the point. And I apologize to everybody out there for yelling, but the fact that he didn't know Winston was on the Browns last year, I can't even.
That's amazing.
I can't even.
That's amazing.
I can't even. But that's the point we're trying to make. And I don't think I said anything that's crazy there. I hope I didn't annoy a lot of you people. But I don't think that's that complicated, right?
I think it's also very important, John, not to make this about even the fans, the ownership, or anybody outside that locker room. Let's talk about the locker room for a second.
I didn't even bring them up. Good point.
Go
ahead.
Let's please talk about the players who are busting their butts in the offseason program, go through an extremely grueling training camp to get to a season and need to have some belief that they got a chance to compete each and every week. And they know when they look at the quarterback room, they know if they've got a chance when they kick it off on Sunday, if we've got a chance to win a game, or, wow, we are so badly handicapped, it's going to just take a lot of heart out of me because I know that we're a heavy underdog and we're probably going to get our hands handed to us. And, it's not that they're not professional, because all professionals are going to give what they've got. But it certainly helps them psychologically and maybe even physically to fight through all the bumps and bruises and the hell that you go through every year. If you know you've got a guy in that huddle playing quarterback for your team who can give you a realistic chance to compete and potentially win the game. It lifts everybody's spirits. It lifts their mentality. It lifts their emotions. And sometimes it can actually lift their physical play to get through the bumps and bruises that they've experienced. So I'm sorry, Charlie, it may not matter to you, but it matters to the players, to the coaches, to the front office, to the ownership, and it certainly matters to John and I.
And Pearson Butler.
Him too.
I hate the win prediction stuff.
I know
we need to stay away from it.
We have no idea.
Because it is about every single individual game. That's it.
Yes, and we have no idea how many games they're going to win. Nobody does. Nobody knows every year. 2022 was a wake-up call for me, man. Like, I used to go in and say, I don't think the team's going to be any good. Yeah, maybe. Okay. I mean,
this organization has a responsibility not to you, Charlie, and not to you, Wilson. They have a responsibility, first and foremost, to the coaches and the players.
Now, in fairness, Wilson didn't want to punt the year. Wilson doesn't want to punt.
No, he doesn't. He just thinks it's going to happen.
Yeah, correct, yes.
He doesn't want it to happen.
That's correct, yes.
Their responsibility, the front office's responsibility is to every coach and every player who works hard 11 months out of the year. We'll give them that 1 month where they have a little vacation time. But they do everything they can to try to build something so that during the season, they can come out with some victories. The front office owes it to them to give them as many players as possible to give them chances to win. And Charlie, it's not about you. I'm sorry, but it's not.
All these people are competitors. They're all competitors. They want to win. And you have people.
That's why you play.
And you have people that roll big checks for PSLs and season tickets every year that are going to your games.
Come on, Herman Edwards, get in the building, right? You play to win the game, right? You play to win the game.
You have to do what you can to try to win as many games as you can. And let the NFL, this is what I always say, guys. Let the NFL tell you what they think of players. Jameis Winston just signed for less, if the reports are correct, it could be for less than what Drew Lock got last year. There are more open quarterback spots than there are quarterbacks now around the National Football League. It's now a position of scarcity again with all the retirements of all the older quarterbacks, the Matt Ryans, the Drew Breeses, the Roethlisbergers, the Rivers, the Bradys, the Mannings. With all those guys gone, it is once again a position of scarcity. So trust me, if there was high demand and people thought he could win a lot of games, he would have been on a team long before the Giants gave him the deal that he supposedly got.
Charlie, I'll leave you with this, okay? And I hope this doesn't go over your head. I said this on a show last week, and I'm going to do it one more time for your benefit. Every coach in this league will tell you the easiest way to lose games is to turn the ball over. It is by far the easiest way to lose games. There's mathematics to prove this for years. Jameis Winston, his touchdown to interception ratio is less than 2-1. Every coach in this league not only wants 2-1, they want better than that. And if you can get 3-1, they'd be ecstatic. And you know what? Russell Wilson's TD to interception percentage is over 3-1. I don't have to go any further than that than to tell you he gives this team, if he is their starting quarterback, a much better chance to not only be competitive, but to win games.
And Wilson's not even a 1.5 to 1. It's 1.38.
Need I say any more?
Jameis Winston, not Russell Wilson. I'm sorry. It's
yeah, I know what you're talking
yes.
about. I know what you're talking about.
And again, guys, for what, if the reports are correct on what the contract terms are, it's a good idea to bring Jameis Winston in because it gives you a backstop. Like, is Jameis Winston going to give you more upside than, let's say, like Drew that was here last year? I think he does because you can get high, like flashes of high level of play. I made the case for Jameis last week before they made the signing to you. I drove you nuts, but I made the case.
Yeah. Well, because what we've learned in this league over the last decade or so, because of the dearth of experienced quality quarterbacks, if you're a team that has any aspirations at all, whether it's a Super Bowl, whether it's being a playoff team, or whether it's just being a 500 team that's going to be in the middle of the pack, if you have any aspirations at all, and you don't address the backup quarterback position in your room with somebody who at least has won some games in this league before, if you leave that room bare and you don't have any insurance or any protection at all in your room, you're really playing with fire.
Well, again,
you're dancing with the devil.
You don't know if you can get Wilson. You don't know if you can get Rodgers. You don't know who's going to be there at 3. So that's why you had to do something to make sure you had a backstop. So, by the way, when maybe you have to make a trade or sign one of these guys, that they can't tell, the agent can't say, well, you have nobody. You have to sign my guy. So you're giving us this or we're not coming. Now at least the Giants says, well, we have Jameis Winston here. If we need to start him, we can start him. He started games in the league. Is it ideal? No, but that's where we are.
And I want to make something clear about Tommy DeVito because we've said some nice things about him over the years because he did do some nice things. But Tommy DeVito is a very good number 3 quarterback in the National Football League.
Yeah, last year we went into the year saying, could he become a number 2? And we were trying to figure that out.
And I'm not sure that he got there. I think he's a really good number 3.
I'm with you on that.
And there's nothing wrong with saying that because he belongs in the NFL on a 53-man roster. But he's a really good number 3. I don't think he proved that he's a good number 2, and he's certainly not a number 1.
All right, let's get to our final call of the show. Let's go to Jeff from Rhode Island. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, John. Hi, Paul. How you guys doing today?
We're
Wonderful.
great.
Johnny, I just got a very brief off-topic comment. I was listening to the show yesterday, and I heard you mention Steve Bye-Bye Balboni.
I did. Yes, I did.
Did you?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that you knew who he was, actually.
I was born in 81. I was rooting for the Yankees when he was there in the late 80s and early 90s.
Oh, okay.
He came back, too, for a second tenure, very short.
I used to go to, right here in my hometown of Pawtucket, go to McCoy Stadium and watch the Port Sox play the Columbus Clippers, who were the Yankee AAA team at that time. So, yeah, when I heard you mention his name, it got me kind of juiced up yesterday, and I just felt I wanted to call him.
All right, Jeff, hold on. I'm going to get you real excited. Hensley Bam Bam Eulens.
Yeah, I remember.
There you go.
Yeah, I remember Bam Bam.
Now, is Bam Bam still a hitting coach in Major League Baseball right now? I'm not sure if he picked up another job.
He was.
I'm
not sure if he's still employed.
I don't remember him being much of a hitter. I don't know how the heck he got to be a hitting coach, but.
If you can't do it, you teach it, right? Isn't that what the old thing is?
Okay, thank you, guys.
Hey, appreciate it, man.
Thanks,
good
Jeff.
stuff, Jeff. Always good to talk to you. He is currently with the Colorado Rockies.
Good for him.
Is that School of Rock?
What?
And if you can't teach, you teach gym.
Oh, is that what it was? I don't remember that.
Very nice.
Yeah, so Pearson made the point. I think you made the point, Pearson, right? That Winston's kind of like a home run hitter that hits a lot of home runs, but then he strikes out a lot. So
Dave Kingman.
Rob Deere was another one I brought up.
Absolutely.
Joey Gallo was the name we came up with.
Joey Gallo.
And somebody else brought up. Actually, this was Lance that I was talking to with. Yeah, and Lance brought up Adam Dunn.
No
the
question.
Reds. That was a good one too. So we were just throwing around.
Stormin Gorman Thomas.
And I brought up Steve. Steve Balboni was the name that I threw out there.
Yeah.
As a home run strikeout guy.
You know, I get it. There are a lot of people out there who've been calling us for a couple of weeks, asking us about Winston because he had put up some numbers in this league before. He certainly is the kind of guy who's going to cause a lot of drama. There's no doubt about that. One way or the other, you're going to get drama out of him because he's a high-risk, high-reward guy. He will take shots. And I get that. And for those of you who wanted him here, well, he's here now. But it's clear, based on the contract, the idea is for him to be a backup. Okay. Leave it at that. I don't have anything else to say. We'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's me and you again, right?
I think it is.
All right, we got Charlie and Wilson's calls out of the way for the week. So that they can relax, we can relax.
That's really good news, isn't it? Make sure you got them marked down. They had their one call.
I don't know what happened with them. We've had good calls in the past few weeks, and it just went south today.
Yeah, well.
Like, guys,
you know what they say, winning streaks don't last forever.
We work for a football team. Football teams try to win football games. I don't know why this is a novel concept we should try to argue.
The idea is to try
this is the basics of the sport, right? Like,
yes.
you try to win games.
Try to win.
I don't know why I'm having this argument with people.
And when you don't win, you try to improve position by position. And the quarterback position is a pretty important one. And they're trying to get better.
And a one-year veteran contract is not going to stop you from getting your quarterback of the future.
I mean,
you can do both. It doesn't preclude one. It's not like I'm saying go pay one of these veterans and you don't have to draft one. You're fine. I'm not saying that. It's like they would rather lose. Well, I should say Charlie would rather lose more games. He should have a better pick next year than win 7 or 8 and be more competitive.
And look, I'm going to go off what you just said before because I've also mentioned it, I believe, on this show. I don't think Arch Manning's coming out next year. NILs are really doing.
He doesn't need money.
But the point is,
his family has more money.
Correct.
He's gonna buy an NFL team for goodness sakes.
But his dad and his uncle. I mean, the whole Manning family always stayed. They didn't come out early. They all stayed. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, he's going to get rich to stay.
And we've shown that more college experience means you're going to be better when you get into the league. We've seen that time, and you don't think the Mannings see that?
Well, especially after all these super seniors got that COVID years over the last couple of years, we've seen 100%. That to be more valuable than people thought.
All right, we started early. Let's wrap. Good stuff, Paul.
All right, John.
Thank you to Pearson. Charlie, we love you. Wilson, we love you. Sorry for yelling. Hope I didn't blow everyone's ears out, including yours, Pearson. That's Big Blue Kickoff Live presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. For Paul Dottino and Pearson Butler, I'm John Schmeelk. We'll see you next time.